Hey everybody, happy lunchtime. It is Sean from Insights and Automation. I want to welcome everybody who's tuning in. Thank you for joining me. Really want to make these lunchtime sessions of the Automation Tech Talk Show collaborative. So please feel free to post questions or comments. For some reason, StreamYard is not taking those from LinkedIn, so my apologies. I don't know why. But in any case, maybe if somebody could do a test post there, it says you can't post comments to LinkedIn, so maybe I still can read them. Who knows? In any case, I hope you're having a great lunch. I'm giving myself 30 minutes to get ready for these things, and then like I was editing to this afternoon's podcast, and I'm like, oh, I gotta hurry up and get over here. But I put together a little presentation just to talk about, you know, Ethernet IP versus Profinet, right? And so before I get into that, again, if you're having problems hearing me or anything like that, it looks like everything's working on my side. And by the way, today I'm coming to you from my office. It's not very clean, but this is where the work gets done when I'm not in the studio or in the training room. But in any case, let me put some things out there. So as somebody who's used Ethernet IP, well, since it came out, right? So, we were back in the day using Data Highway Plus and Remote IO, and some people call it Rio. And I was like, Rio is a city. Call it Remote IO or RIO. But in any case, that's how my weird brain works. Hey, thank you, Emmanuel. Really appreciate it. It's good to see you again. Great. It's been a while since we talked. So in any case, one of the things these vendors have done is made these things easy to implement in their products. And I gotta say, like all the major vendors I've used, they put that first in their thought process, at least from my perspective. And I can go into their programming software, I can add things on their network, and it works. So, and there's a lot that goes on under the scenes, behind the scenes in the software that makes that all work so well. I know with Ethernet IP early on, we had the whole unicast versus multicast. So everything was multicast. Some of you younger folks won't even know what I'm talking about, but we had to run around saying, use a switch with IGMP snooping, use a switch with IGMP snooping. And then it was IGN snooping and querying. And it's like, ah, but in any case, that's all going away now with unicast support. And again, if I say something wrong, I'm just going off the cuff here. It's just lunchtime, so let me know. But long story short, I use both networks in the house here with just commercial switches. They run great. Of course, you want to use industrial switches in an industrial environment, and I think most of you have the same experience with that. So, what I want to do is kind of like take a look at them now. One of the reasons I'm doing this today is I'm editing. I'm not quite done. It takes about 3 hours to edit these shows and publish them, but just at the final steps of editing today's podcast, which will be on Profinet. And I thought, man, this guy had some great slides, so I wanted to compare them to the slides I typically use for Ethernet IP, or at least one slide, which is really based on a Rockwell slide that they were giving away for years and years and years. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take that look at that slide. And here you can see um, that it's not showing the right thing. It's supposed to be showing PowerPoint full screen. So let me fix that really quick. I'm still getting used to um, let's see here. Share screen, share window. Let's share the full screen window. I haven't used StreamYard in a few months and they've changed it around quite a bit. So yeah, that should be better. There we go. Somebody's asking, hey, before you go any further, can you explain unicast versus multicast? Yeah, great question. Now it's not showing me your name, so I apologize. It's a StreamYard issue. But multicast, basically you put the information on the wire, and then those people who want it can grab it. But what happens is, and I know for some of you, you're probably rolling your eyes, Sean, why are you talking about this stuff? But somebody asked about it. So in any case, what happened is for the switch to route those packets, typically our standard switch routes packets based on the IP address, right? The MAC address, right? So it makes a list of, and I won't go into gory details. Let me try to keep this verbiage very simple. The switch typically for IP addresses, right, will keep a list of what MAC addresses on what port. Okay, so it knows that PLC number one at 192.168.1.1 is on port one, and maybe a PLC number three on port three, and it's dot three, and so on. And so it can't do that. It can't do that with multicast packets. You need INGP snooping. In other words, it can open the packet and see which INGP group it belongs to, and querying. so it can ask people what group they belong to be able to route those packets. So in essence, if you use the multicast with a standard switch, it's like turning that switch into a hub, and every message goes to every port. And we had a lot of people call up and say, "Hey, all my devices on my network are stop working because they've gone off hook because they're getting a lot of messages that don't belong to them." So I hope I did that justice. Unicast is now the message is sent just to the person who needs it. It's not broadcast to the whole network. There's ups and downs about that, but that's not what I'm here talking about. If you guys want to see me talk about that in a future episode, I'd be happy to. If you guys think I made that too simple of a description, let me know that as well. So in any case, here we are in back in PowerPoint, and this is your typical um, layers, right? So you have your OSI as 7-layer network model, and this is actually comparing. This is for common industrial protocol. So this is comparing um, Ethernet IP, control net, and device net. So you can see, we have on the very lower end here down the green area, we have the physical, so green is Ethernet. So we have the physical media bits and bytes. We have data links, frames, MACs, LLC. We have packets, path, IP addresses. So all of this, if we think about that OSI 7-layer network model, that's nothing to do with Rockwell or Siemens. That's just part of network design. And then we have, of course, the application layer. This is can be split into in the OSI model application presentation and session layers. With Rockwell, we're just talking about the application layer. Okay, so I thought this is a very interesting slide um, that kind of shows you how you can do the seamless bridging and routing between Ethernet IP, control net, and device net. You can go in and out one or the other. You don't have to do any, a matter of fact, we were kind of debating, I shouldn't say debating this, but I was trying to give people some insight on this last month or 2 months ago on LinkedIn. It's like, look, when the 1756 control logic stuff started coming out, we didn't have any PLCs. And we were selling the racks with a Data Highway Plus card and an Ethernet card, so you could, and it was a DHRAO card, so you could seamlessly bridge between the two. And I don't know how many plants I've been to, even like metal stamping plants where they'll have one Ethernet card and a whole bunch of DHRAO cards, so they could go Ethernet to all their Data Highway Pluses. And so, not that Data Highway Plus supports CIP, but that kind of, when you were doing a control net or device net, you could just go out Ethernet and go to those other devices, and boom, um, everything worked. You didn't have to set up a router like a KF2 or a KE card, if any of you guys have used those. But in any case, and that's kind of what you see when you use your USB cable with a compact or control logics, or with the network cards. Those were added to the network cards after a while. You get that seamless bridging and routing. So that is the Rockwell side of the fence, okay? And I just thought, look at how similar it is to Profinet. Now, again, different vendors, different formats of slides. And Tom from PI is going to go through this in lots and lots more detail than I'm going to cover here at lunch when that releases, probably at 3:30 today if I finish it on time. I also am waiting for a trade show demo to show up from one of my sponsors, so I may have to run out in the middle of the show and go let them in. But in any case, take a look at this. We have the same OSI 7-layer network model, right? And you can see all these are the same things, right? This is all the same. But over here, now we have the Profinet. You see how it lays right on top of that, Ethernet, right? And I just think it's so cool. This is what makes Ethernet so cool is that it's not a lockdown network. It's an open network. Anybody can use it, right? And so you can see they have their non-real-time data and their real-time data. And in real-time data, there's also time critical data, right? And so you'll notice, right? And I'm not going to go into this in great detail, but you'll notice, right, that Tom goes through this. What's non-real time? Anything 100 milliseconds or unscheduled. Real time 1 to 10 milliseconds. This is the Profinet view, and then time critical less than a millisecond, right? And you see motion control. And in the Rockwell world, we often would talk about SIP sync, SIP motion. All these different pieces of SIP. Again, I'll repeat what I said yesterday. I invited the Ethernet IP people on, and they said, we don't like you. So, well, that's shortened the conversation a little bit. But in any case, no, I'm joking about that they don't like you. It's like they just didn't see value in coming on the show. So, and I said, fine, we won't have you. In any case, there's all these things in the SIP protocol that talks about that. Now, if you look over here, though, what I thought was very interesting in here, so I've always told my students, there's RT, real-time communications, and then there's IRT, right? And IRT, you're not going to find in those old, I shouldn't say old, Gen 1 S7 1200s, at least if I'm remembering the lessons I teach my students. So that's one of the reasons why you want to go to an S7 1500. You get a lot of IRT connections, right? And depending on the model you get, very similar to what you're here with Rockwell, you get so many connections, and they have different names for it. But in any case, I go over those charts in my course, S7 course. But time critical. This is important. And then he actually talked about TSN as well. And I know Siemens is doing a lot. I don't know if Rockwell's doing anything with TSN, but time sensitive networks really is kind of maybe the next generation. Maybe that's one way of talking about real time data. It's a new spec that's designed to allow you to go well into the future with high speed communications. And I just think it's so interesting. I know the folks at Mitsubishi and a lot of people in a lot of Asia manufacturers have jumped on that quickly. You see the what is it? IE Link TSN. You see that advertised a lot, right? And we haven't had Mitsubishi on this show probably in 10 years, but I would love to get them back on, maybe 7 years. So always been a big fan of what they do. But in any case, so from there, I wanted to show you this chart too. Again, Tom's going to go through this in gory detail, but I thought it would be something fun to talk about because, of course, he doesn't relate it to Rockwell. So I thought it would be fun to talk about and show you some of his slides, give you a little glimpse of what's coming out at 3:30. I think the podcast is about 45 minutes. He also has a bunch of free hands-on lessons, hands-on training dates coming up all around the country. So you guys may be interested in that. And so you can see here, real time, Profinet IRT, and TSN all compared, right? And so very, very interesting. Um, and from my understanding too, is because Profinet over TSN will be able to use off-the-shelf chips, then it's going to make a lot more products capable of doing Profinet over TSN, which will give you the speeds faster than IRT, right? So very interesting stuff. And let me go back to the comments. I don't have any new comments there. So that's what I wanted to talk today at lunchtime. I wanted to get you guys' thoughts and opinions on that. But I thought it was really interesting comparing Profinet to, if we look at this slide and then comparing it to Ethernet IP, and just we live in such a great day and age where we're using something open like Ethernet for everything. And back when I got started back in 1990, it cost probably, I'm going to guess here because I didn't look it up, $2,000, $2,000 to add a network card, like a Data Highway Plus network card, Data Highway Plus network card to your computer, right? And now every computer has Ethernet built in, so it's like, yeah, that's awesome. So that's what I had for you today. Let's talk about what else is going on. I do have a new episode of the Automation Museum show. So we're still only about 7% in that fundraiser. And again, there's no rush. I mean, this is something I want to do. I want to preserve the history of automation, industrial automation. So we also are recording our first Automation Museum podcast this weekend. Of course, this is all nonprofit, so we're doing it on the weekend. I'm interviewing me and Jeremy are interviewing a person who actually wrote a book on the history of Wonderware and um, uh, Triconics, I believe I got that right. So things I'm not that familiar with. Oh, I'm very familiar with Wonderware. I've used it a little bit, but so many of you guys out there over the years have shown me your awesome In Touch projects. But in any case, this is going to be a lot of fun. And then in 2 weeks after that, we'll have another episode where we interview Jeremy about his thoughts of the evolution of Rockwell PLCs starting at the 1774. So, and we're doing this totally to try to get this nonprofit up and running. You guys have sent me a lot of equipment over the years that I want to give on your behalf to the Automation Museum. And we want to preserve that knowledge, like the PCMK card. I have such vivid memories of helping people get their PCMK cards up and running, right? And it came to the point, now this is back in the days of DOS, okay? And if you've never used DOS, then don't start now. So in any case, we used to have to worry about TSRs and memory management, and I would get so frustrated because everybody wanted their mouse utility, their Palm Pilot utility. They had like PC tools. They wanted like 14 utilities running in the same 600K of memory or whatever it was, right? And eventually I just started hitting out boot disks, and I'm like, dude, they're like, how come you didn't get all of my 28 software packages running on boot? I'm like, look, it's just physics, right? There's no way to cram those in. So boot off this disk and have a nice day. But yeah, good memories, and then Windows 95 and all that too. So that's what the Automation Museum is all about. Thank you to everybody who's already given over at theautomationmuseum.org, which sends you to Give, Send, Go. And thank you for everybody who sent in the hardware. I'm going to try to cover those every couple of weeks. The stuff that's come in, just as to help with the fundraiser to raise the money. The first thing we're going to do is get the nonprofit set up. The what else do we have? So we have the podcast coming out today, Profinet. Next week, I don't know if I can pull this off, but I'm thinking next week might be IOLink. So I would love to do that next week. Um, I have a trade show demo coming in from a vendor, so I can cover their products. Very cool. Um, what else do we got coming up? If you're in my courses at the Automation School, yeah, I should mention this. Updates, a lot of updates coming out. If you have been holding off purchasing something, I looked at my P&L, profit and loss, and I gotta raise prices. It kills me to do this, but if I don't, the company's gonna run negative. So instead of closing down shop because I don't want to raise prices, I got to raise prices to match the prices I'm being charged. So again, it took a big hit taking this job, but I'm doing it because I love you guys and I want to make sure I can share all my knowledge with you. So in any case, if you're looking at a course at the automation school or a bundle and upgrade, if you do it before the mid part of December, you'll get the 2020 prices. Otherwise, you'll get the 2025 prices. And like we talked yesterday, PLCs that were 250 10 years ago are now 400, and that's just life. It stinks, but in any case, doesn't affect anybody who has a course. You're getting new lessons too. I'm putting new lessons in. I got 5 new lessons I hope to release today. I'm just finished editing the last one, but I got to do today's podcast first. And there's so much other stuff going on here. I'll try to think of more things for tomorrow's show. I haven't eaten my lunch yet, so we're coming up on that 20-minute mark. So I just want to thank you all for tuning in. If you want to come on the show and chat with me during lunchtime for 20 or 30 minutes, let me know. Get in contact with me, LinkedIn, YouTube, any way you can, automationblog.com. I'm also trying to publish these with a really nice, so I paid for the extra service to get really nice transcripts. So if you're a morning person and you're like, oh, I don't want to listen to somebody, I just want to read, because that's me every morning. I won't do any video, because in the morning I'm more like I don't want to. I just want to read. So I'm starting to post the transcripts over there. It costs me a little extra money, but for those morning people who want to read the show and not watch the show, that you'll find that at the automation blog as well. Much better transcripts, I think, than what you get from like a YouTube, because they give you like timestamp in one sentence, timestamp sentence. And this is more like it does. Not that it's perfect, but it does a better job, I think. And with that, I'm just going to wish you guys an awesome lunch. I'm going to go eat mine. I want to wish you all good health and happiness. And until next time, my friends, peace.